I believe in America. America has made my fortune. And I raised my daughter in the American fashion.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Service Management in the Movies. Today we're looking at the 1972 classic, The Godfather, to discuss 8 key negotiation principles. The Godfather was directed by Francis Ford Coppola and stars Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and James Caan. In service management, negotiation happens every single day, often in ways we don't even recognize. For example, we negotiate with customers to set expectations and agree on outcomes, with vendors to define performance targets and behavioral expectations. We negotiate internally between the service desk and service teams to clarify priorities, responsibilities. We negotiate budgets and headcount with finance and leadership. And we negotiate to resolve conflicts between teams and individual team members. Sometimes we achieve positive outcomes and sometimes not so much. The good news is that effective negotiation is built on key principles that anyone can learn. So before we start, it's important to keep the following overarching objective in mind. Negotiation isn't about winning at someone else's expense. It's about creating clarity, lowering defenses, and helping both sides find the best path forward. So 1, build trust and credibility. So negotiation is much easier when trust already exists. Don Corleone doesn't try to create credibility in the moment, he builds it long before he actually needs it. In this scene, Bonacera asks Don Corleone for justice. Let's take a look.
If he had come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies. And then they would fear you.
So trust and credibility are crucial currencies. When trust exists, negotiations run much smoother. People are more willing to compromise when they believe that you're going to be fair and consistent. And when there's no prior relationship and you can't rely on goodwill or shared experience, trust has to be built in real time. And this is accomplished, of course, through consistency, transparency, and how you come across during the negotiation through your words and actions. So the takeaway here is negotiation is much easier when trust already exists and respect has already been earned. But if it doesn't exist, you're going to have to create it throughout the negotiation. Number 2, do your homework. So effective negotiation starts with understanding your own goals and limits. In this scene, Tom Hagen, the attorney for the Corleones, visits Jack Woltz at his studio to negotiate on behalf of the Don.
And what favor would your friend grant, Mr. Woltz?
If you're going to have some union problems, my client could make them disappear.
So Tom demonstrates preparation, research, and emotional control. He understands Woltz's professional and personal pressure points, we'll say. Before a negotiation, it's important to know what you want, so your purpose, and what you can or can't accept, your boundaries. So the more prepared you are before the negotiation, the more confident you're going to be when it comes to establishing your own boundaries. 3, understand interests, not just positions. So in this next scene, Sollazzo's request sounds like it's centered around money, but the real request is legitimacy.
I need a man who has powerful friends. I need $1 million in cash. I need, Don Corleone, those politicians that you carry in your pocket, like so many nickels and dimes.
So in this scene, Sollazzo presents a position. He needs $1 million and political protection. But Don Corleone sees the actual interest. Sollazzo wants legitimacy and a strategic ally. So Don Corleone ends up declining because of the impact on the long-term safety of his family, not for any emotional reason. So positions are what people say, and interests are what they actually need. In each negotiation, Don Corleone stays calm, he listens fully, identifies with the deeper meaning behind the request, and then reframes the conversation towards a solution that addresses the true interest, not just the ask or the demand. So the takeaway here is work to understand the true interest behind every request. That's when real progress towards an agreement begins. 4, control your emotions. The calmest person in the room typically sets the tone and gains the advantage. Later in the same scene, when Don Corleone is negotiating with Sollazzo, we see a great example of what not to do.
Oh, are you telling me that the Taglias guarantee our
Wait a
investment?
minute. I have a sentimental weakness for my children, and I've spoiled them, as you can see.
So this is clearly a misstep on Sonny's part. Notice that Sollozzo and the others in the room sees Sonny's emotional reaction as potential leverage. Don Corleone recognizes the danger immediately. It's important to control the temperature in the room. Staying calm demonstrates confidence. Emotions can clutter your thinking and lead to poor decisions. Also, calmness can destabilize pressure tactics if used by another negotiator. So the takeaway here is the calmest person in the room typically has the greater advantage. 5. Listen with empathy. So most people focus on getting their ideas across or their message across instead of truly listening and observing body language. The scenes of Don Corleone listening to requests early in the film, like this one with Bonacera we're about to see, are great examples of empathetic listening.
See, she and Enzo.
You want Enzo to stay in this country, and you want your daughter to be married.
You understand everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Hagen.
So in this scene, Don Corleone listens first, giving space for Enzo to explain his predicament, and this builds trust and lowers emotional temperature. His composure sets the tone. When one person stays calm, the room typically follows. When people feel heard, they become much more collaborative, much more willing to find common ground. So empathetic listening is about recognizing the emotion beneath the words without letting it control your own reactions. Understanding someone's perspective doesn't mean agreeing with them, but it always helps facilitate the negotiation. So listening, truly listening, and observing is often more important than actually talking in a negotiation. 6. Choose the right messenger. In this scene, Michael volunteers to quote-unquote handle Sollozzo. Let's take a look.
We have newspaper people on the payroll, don't we, Tom? They might like a story like that.
They might. They just might.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
So Michael's personality contrasts, of course, sharply with Sonny's earlier dealings with Sollozzo. Michael is calm, composed, and strategically neutral as he outlines his plan. Michael's idea will work because his presence will lower defenses. Sollozzo is going to underestimate him, and that's going to give Michael the advantage. Not every negotiation should be handled by the same person. The right negotiator is the person who brings clarity, emotional control, and credibility to the conversation, not necessarily the person with the highest, let's say, rank. Some situations call for authority, others call for calm, others require technical expertise or an established rapport. The messenger, at the end of the day, can dramatically change the negotiation outcome. So the takeaway here is match the negotiator with the situation and stakeholders. 7. Patience and silence. So patience, timing, and silence are powerful tools to effectively guide productive negotiations. Well, this particular scene goes a bit against our initial premise of achieving an outcome that's mutually beneficial. It does demonstrate the use of patience and silence to control the mood of the conversation.
I'm glad you came, Mike. I hope we can straighten everything out. I mean, this is terrible. It's not the way I wanted things to go at all. It should have never happened.
I want to straighten everything out tonight.
And in a way they do. So in this scene, Michael says almost nothing, and Sollozzo ends up revealing far more than he intends. The power dynamic flips because Michael allows silence to work for him. It's the clearest example, really, in the film of using timing and quiet composure to gain control. Rushing leads to bad decisions. Patience can give you space to see the bigger picture. And a strategically quiet negotiator forces the other party oftentimes to fill in the gaps, exposing motivations and weak points. Michael demonstrates how a calm, observant presence can shift leverage even when you appear to be the least powerful person in the room. In service management, the same applies. Sometimes the best move is to say less and allow the other side or the other person, the negotiator, to show you what they really need. So silence and patience aren't about outsmarting the other party, though. They're about creating clarity and uncovering what truly matters to both sides. Aim for a win-win solutions. So real negotiations are collaborative. They're about creating value for everyone involved so that the agreement actually holds up over time. In this scene, Don Corleone is negotiating a truce with the 5 families.
Hope that we could come here and reason together. And as a reasonable man, I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to find a peaceful solution to these problems.
So Don Corleone consistently aims for mutual benefit because the long-term alliances matter more than short-term wins. Everyone has something to give and accept, trust-wise, negotiation-wise. Agreements last longer and generate fewer issues when both sides walk away with something meaningful. Contracts and service targets definitely matter, and they help priorities set and track clear expectations. But the most important part of any agreement, contract, is intent. And in my experience, at the end of the day, down the road, if we need to pull the contract out of the desk drawer to resolve a disagreement, we've kind of already lost the bigger picture. Trust is a foundation for every successful partnership. So successful negotiations result in a clear and positive alignment across all parties. In closing, The Godfather demonstrates that negotiations are about being loud or forceful or getting one up on the other party. They're more successful if handled in a calm, deliberate, and emotionally intelligent manner. And when we've thoughtfully applied these 8 principles that we just discussed, we can transform negotiations into opportunities for partnership where everybody wins. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. It really helps us out. Also, you might enjoy our video on leading teams through change or our video on helping teams and team members manage stress. And until we see you in the next video, take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.